Welcome back to another episode of the shit show.
Didn't anyone mention?
So, thanks for tuning in. Just a big old thank you to everybody who's listening.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that, we'll get started.
Well, I'm Sam.
And I'm Miguel. So, today I got a couple things for you. I got one small one to start with, and it's the idiom that is wrong side of the bed. You familiar with that one?
Oh, like you woke up on the wrong side of the bed?
Mm-hmm. Do you know where it comes from?
No, I just thought it was like... I was reading actually something that whatever side you sleep on the bed, like, is due to your personality.
That ain't cool.
I was like...
Actually, that makes sense. I don't know.
I don't know, but all I saw was
think about
people who
that.
sleep on the right side are complete nerds and just like...
Oh, so it's very accurate then.
That's your side of the bed.
No, you're on the right.
If you're looking at the bed, you're on the right.
That is not how that works. Because if
Why
you're
would
on
it
the
not
bed,
be?
you're on the right.
No, it's how you look at the bed.
No way. Okay, when you tell people it's on the left side of the house, what do you...
From how I look at it.
Right. Now, if you say, well, shit, you just fucking got me. Damn. No, that's not right, dude. No. Either way, I don't believe it.
Well, either way, whatever side your bed is on.
What side is the driver's side on?
It's on the left side.
If you're looking at it?
No. It's when you're inside.
Boom!
Because that's how you... Oh, okay, never mind. I'm just going to dig myself a hole. Okay, well then...
Case closed. That's all I gotta say.
But how do you tell what's right or left? Because you're inside your body and you hold up your fingers and the left is on your left.
Yep.
Oh, yep. So I'm wrong. Okay, so I meant the left side.
Okay, so wrong side of the bed.
Okay.
And we all know what it means, right? Go ahead. What does it mean?
Woke up on the wrong side of the bed. You're getting cranky.
Yeah, you're
You're
grumpy.
just like in a bad mood.
It's exactly what I have here. You're bad mood or annoyed for no reason. Okay. So where it comes from is a more literal meaning. It comes from ancient Rome.
Oh,
Yeah.
Rome, my dude.
And so if you weren't paying attention and woke up on the left side of the bed, you were in for a very bad day, like really bad day.
So like left side, not like left side of the bed, not on your left side.
Right, the left side of
Okay.
the bed. And so
How
literally,
big are their beds?
I don't know big enough. Just do me a favor right now.
Mm-hmm.
Look up how to say left in Latin.
How to say left in Latin?
And then, yeah, tell me what it means.
So how to say left in Latin?
What is it?
Sinister?
Yep. Ooh.
Oh,
Yep. So literally left in Latin means sinister. Or is sinister, and right is dexterous. So like when you say somebody's ambidextrous or ambidextrous, they can write with both hands. And so, yeah, pretty gnarly, huh? It's pretty small. It's not a huge little piece I have here, but that's where it came from. And so, like, a lot of other things come from that left side. So people believe the devil attacked you on the left side.
Attacked? Jeez.
Yep.
Okay.
And so, like, you know, when you spill salt.
And that's why I think they thought people with left-handed were, like, bad.
Yeah, so there's a couple different meanings for it. So one of them was because it was sinister or whatever. Right, left is sinister, but also like back in the day, there wasn't toilet paper. You just wipe your ass with your left hand, and that's why you don't shake people's hands with your left hand. You do it with the right, because this is considered a filthy hand. No, you don't.
No, I don't.
Trust me, because when people come up to you, they do the right hand every time. I've never shaken another person's hand with my left. Always with my right hand.
No, I'm asking. I was like, wait, what do I wipe my butt with?
Which one do I do? Which do I wipe my butt with? Both, sometimes, you know?
Depends on the mood, you know? You're like a little sore on one side.
Yeah, dude, sometimes you can't reach all the way over, so you're like, left-handed is, right-handed is. So, yeah. So
Dang.
that's just something small I throw in there for you.
Cool. I like it.
Oh, yeah.
So, just because of what the word meant.
Yeah, and I was going to get deeper into how Latin came with sinister meaning left, but it had a whole etymology to it that I was like, I can make a whole episode on that. So maybe later
Huh.
on I'll do it. But
Interesting. I like it.
anyways, the meat and potatoes.
Oh, so that was just like a nice little
That was a that was a
bonus episode.
yeah, that was a jalapeno popper. This is a chicken
Oh
fried
my
steak.
gosh. I'm like, I could go for some ribs. I'm so, just, I don't know, it came over me. But, anyways, carry
Anyways,
on.
so have you heard of the dark side of Martin Luther King Jr.?
No?
No, you haven't, right? So yeah, so I'm gonna go
Man, I could say so many things right now.
like what?
I was gonna say, I thought he was already dark.
I'm not editing that out. That's
I
good.
thought that, I thought that was the whole point of Martin Luther King, is he was, fighting for the people.
Yep, I'm not editing that out. That's too good. I thought it was already dark. Which side? The front or the back?
Oh no.
Okay. Yes. So yeah, the dark side at Martin Luther King.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna go through and read the history of Martin Luther King. And
He
so this
was
is
assassinated, right?
yes.
Okay.
Yep. He was assassinated. But I'm the first part I'm gonna go through is just his typical life, like
Okay.
what you'll read from history books.
Okay.
And then the second half, I'll kind of dive in, interject little bits and pieces
Mm-hmm.
of kind of the rougher side.
Okay.
Okay. So, Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15th, 1929. Originally, his name was not Martin, it was Michael. And he changed his name later on.
Do we know why?
Nope.
Hmm.
Nope, no idea. I think it was to shadow his grandfather, which was a big figure in his life. And growing up, he was
Wait, real quick. You said so his grandpa's name was Martin?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Um, and so growing up, he was part of an Ebenezer Baptist church based out of Atlanta.
An
Um,
Ebenezer, like Ebenezer Scrooge?
I don't know, but that's what it was called. Ebenezer.
Oh.
I didn't even put two and two together. Yeah. Ebenezer Baptist Church, and it was housed out of Atlanta.
Okay.
And pretty much through his life until his grandfather passed away, he was a co pastor. He was there with him.
Oh.
Right.
That would make sense on how you can get the people amped.
Yeah, that's where he got it from. Through his life, he attended segregated public schools, right? This is all familiar in Georgia. And he graduated from high school at the age of 15.
Wow.
And he received an associate's degree in 1948 from
I didn't know
Morehouse
that.
College.
I didn't know that.
Well,
Well, honestly, high school was a long time ago. That would have been the last time I learned. But I didn't know he was like. I guess I just forget college has been around for a long time.
yeah. And so, yeah, he got from Morehouse College. And this part kind of pains me to say it's labeled that at the time it was a distinguished Negro institution of Atlanta.
Okay, so it was just
Blacks
a
only.
black school. Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't like saying that, but it is what it is at the time. So after he graduated from that time, he decided to study theology, which, for those that don't know, that's religion, studying religion.
That makes sense.
Um,
Wait, real quick, back it up. When did his grandpa die? He technically died like when he was young, so he was a co-pastor while he was young. Or
his grandpa died in 1960.
Oh, okay, so he was like well into.
He was 40, roughly 40.
Okay, so that would make sense. I thought he had died before. Okay, cool.
So yeah, he studied theology at Crozer Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania, where he was elected president of a predominantly white senior class.
That's cool.
Right? He was awarded his bachelor's degree in 1951, so it's
Dang.
after associates, and when he got his fellowship, He enrolled in graduate studies at Boston University. He completed his residency and for his doctorate degree in 1953, which, he was born in 1929, 1953, that puts him at 24. He had his doctorate degree by 24.
That's so. Well, I mean, he graduated at 15.
Yeah.
That's freaking crazy.
Pretty wild, right?
Smart guy.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll get to that. He was a smart guy. Just overall, he was a good guy. Overall. In Boston, when he was there, he met and married a Coretta Scott. Coretta was his wife throughout. Yeah, the whole time she was there. And she was a really smart young lady who was like very intellectual and artistic. Uncommonly so is what they kind of labeled her as.
What do you uncommonly?
Like she was like uncommonly, not uncommonly. What is it? She was like really smart and really creative. Like
so, like you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. But like rarely, like her kind was pretty rare. Being that.
Well, it's like what people say, like your left side and your right side of your brain, and it's like, like the left brain is like, or I can't remember which one's which, but it's like one's more creative, one more artsy, one's more like smart and more like.
I wonder if that's real.
I don't know. I don't. From what I remember, psychology wise, I don't think it's like super. I don't think there's anything really super measurable. I think there's just different parts of the brain that maybe lie in those areas.
Different synapses form.
And I don't think that technically. I don't think it's scientifically a thing. I think it's just kind of like. But I can't remember. Don't quote me on that because I didn't finish college and I just did psychology for 2 years. So
it's fine if you didn't finish college, you still be smart.
It's been a while since I even thought about psychology, but yeah, no, I can't remember. I think if anything, it's because of what maybe lies in those parts of the brain. But I want to say the brain's pretty. Maybe besides in the stem, I think it's pretty symmetrical on what works in what area.
Yeah, I can't imagine that your left side's more creative or your right side's more.
I just think it's what's located. Like I think it's just like, oh, maybe this, like your left side of your brain houses more creativity and those kind of things. Maybe you're right. Has like more like your Broca's area, stuff like that, like where it's like your like it just depends on what
parts are literally in there.
Yeah, by like mechanical like aspect,
Fair enough. So yeah, Coretta Scott, he met her, married her, and by her he had 2 sons and 2 daughters.
I really like the name Coretta. I think it's just different.
I like that J. Cole. Like I knew who she was, kind of.
J. Cole.
But J. Cole had a verse. I can't remember what it was. I can't remember what song it was, but he said the name Coretta in there, like, something Coretta. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? I looked it up and it was Martin Luther King's wife.
Oh, huh.
Yeah. Cool. So shout out to J. Cole. Love him. And then, moving forward here, in 1954, Martin Luther King became pastor of the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama. So
he's been in Alabama, Georgia, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania.
Yep, all along the East Coast.
Can you imagine being all over and not having the same travel that we have today? Like, I mean, they did, but they didn't. Like,
dude,
for how, like...
It gets crazier. So, I touch on this later, but in an 11-year span, from 1957 to 1968, Martin Luther King traveled over 6 million miles. See,
and that's crazy. Like, I'm not saying that, they didn't have cars and planes. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying of, like, how efficient everything is now.
Right.
That would be crazy. Even thinking about a 1950s car and how it drives.
Probably been way cooler.
Jeez.
So I calculated it down here, right? So in an 11-year gap, 1957 to 68, he traveled over 6 million miles, which averages out to 1,500 miles a day.
1,500 miles a day?
Yep.
Dude.
Okay. And in that...
Is that even real?
I don't know, but it's documented.
Is that even real? Because what I'm saying is he's stopping and talking to people, right?
Okay, yes. He had delivered in that 11-year span over 2,500 times. That's literally every other day he
Okay.
was giving a speech because there's only
Okay.
4,015 days in 11 years if you were to go from beginning to end.
What years did you say he was traveling?
57 through 68.
Okay. So say that's like 50. Okay, I don't even know how to do that math. The average speed limit in 1960 in the US is 50 miles an hour.
Okay. And do they have planes?
But is he traveling via plane or by car?
I don't know because this really ties into a little bit coming
Okay,
later.
okay, okay. Then I'll pause. But like, if he's driving, there's no freaking way.
There's no way because what
Because
is that?
even what was
10
like?
hours going 50 miles an hour is 500 miles.
Yes,
It had to have been by plane.
it had to have been by
But
plane
he did travel over 6 million miles.
because he'd have to do plane and then drive a little. But then, where are all these airports? Is he just like? Does he have a small plane
Well,
that
you got to
he's
think
just
about the East
driving
Coast
everywhere?
in the 50s, or like the East Coast pretty much in general was
Yeah.
way more developed than whatever we
I
see out here in
guess.
Idaho.
Well, I mean, yeah. I guess we are like, oh, cool. The next airport, like actual airport, is like Salt Lake. It's like we're not even an actual. We're not even an international one.
No, we are now. We have flights to Canada.
Ooh.
International, baby.
Woo. Okay, but yeah, no. Okay, he had to have been flying at least for chunks of this, unless maybe he has like a plane, like a small plane that he could land wherever an open field was. I don't know,
I
but
don't
all
know.
I'm saying is
That's a lot of
that's
miles.
a lot.
But in a plane, like think about it from where we are in Boise flying to like Pullman, how long did that take you? And that's 280 miles from Boise to Pullman.
And that was like a small plane too. I want to say it was only like
45 minutes an hour?
30, 45 minutes. Yeah. Well, I know from Salt Lake to Idaho or Salt Lake to Boise is 45 minutes.
And how many miles is that? That's got to be over 300. It's got to be about It's got to be about 400 miles.
I know that's the only one I know for a fact. But yeah, because I actually I don't know why um miles.
We're looking it
It
up right now.
is 340.
Yeah, 340 miles from Boise to Salt Lake, and that is an hour?
45 minutes.
It's 45
Mhm.
minutes. Okay, he had to have been flying for the most part.
Mhm.
He had to have been flying for the most
Yeah.
part. That's crazy. 300 miles in 45 minutes. That's like insane, actually.
I know. Yeah. Well, and then think about how much like that's what I'm saying is like think about 50 years ago or even more. What is that? 70, 60 to 70 years ago?
70 years ago, about, yeah.
Think about how much technology has changed since then. Even thinking about how much technology has changed in 10 years, with cars and how
Yeah.
efficient they are and things like that. Flying, I mean, he had to have been making money then. Okay, I'll stop talking.
And we'll
Okay,
get
keep on
to
going.
that. We'll
Keep on
get to
going.
that. So again, we're just going through his history that you're
Okay.
going to find in kind of
Mhm.
an American text.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I just burped really loud. In American textbooks.
Mhm.
So let me figure out where I was. So yeah, 1954, he became pastor, and by this time, he was a member of the executive committee of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. It's quite the title.
I know. I was like, I had to think about all the words you had just
Yeah,
said for
and
a second.
it was at that time a leading organization in the nation. Okay. And then by 1955, which was the next year,
Mhm.
he accepted the leadership of the first great Negro nonviolent demonstration, which is commonly known as the bus boycott.
Okay.
You know.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
So I
so
have
bad at I'm so bad at American history because it just didn't intrigue me as much as like Roman and Greek. I
it's because
guess
it wasn't true.
really.
Like I don't know.
Well, it's hard.
It's
It's
like any textbook from any nation. They're
it's
always gonna buff themselves up like, yeah, we're the shit.
yeah. Well,
But
it's just hard. Um, I guess like I didn't really like American history as much because it was just like so like this is a year, remember it. This is this, remember it, kind of a thing.
Also, remember how small we are.
I know.
Literally, as a nation, we're hitting like
Exactly.
300 years,
Yeah. And
a
why
little
like
over.
Greek and Roman and all that stuff,
Way.
like it was way farther. It
But
has
that's
so
just
much
American
more.
history.
Yeah.
Like Native American history is really fascinating.
See, I like history that goes back even farther, where it's like even like you almost have to think about it more. Because
Hmm.
American history is like, I mean, I would say, I mean, it's not super documented, but it's pretty well documented compared to other histories
Yeah, because
because it
we
went
don't,
back so far.
we ain't got shit. They're
Exactly.
like, I remember
So
the
that's
day
why
that I came up on the
I,
shores
and that's why I
of
think I like
America.
the other stuff so more. And if you like it, it resonates more. You know, like if
Right.
you're not into it, you don't really care. You're not gonna remember it.
I
Like
mean, yeah,
I
don't get
have
me
too
wrong.
many other things to remember.
There's some cool history about America,
Yeah.
but like, we ain't got no Rome. We ain't got no
Yeah.
Athens. You know,
What we have
we got no
DC.
Persia.
We have DC.
We have Washington D.C.
I don't even think Mount. No hate. I don't even think Mount Rushmore is that cool.
Bro, don't even get me started on Mount
Like all I'm
Rushmore.
thinking
It's fake.
is, are you freaking serious? Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's fake.
I just don't believe it exists.
I know I've never seen it honestly, and I don't think I want to see it because also, why the hell would you carve your own face into a freaking mountain? Mountains are beautiful for how every little like shape that they take, all the crevices, all the like how the ice caps at the top, like how
Hmm.
everything is so beautiful on Mount Mountain. You freaking disgrace it with your stupid ass freaking white curly ass hair stuff. Those stupid wigs that they would wear.
Bro, you know why they would wear those wigs?
They're freaking bald.
No, not because they're well, kind of yeah, but like at that time, the bigger the wig you had, the more money you had.
Yes, I knew
So
that one.
okay, well, fuck me.
Yeah, no, no. I thought you were gonna say like they had like termites or something.
They had cat AIDS. Okay,
But
moving
yeah,
forward
yeah.
here. All right. Okay. So the bus protest, I'm going to tell you what that is right now.
Thank you.
So that boycott for the bus lasted 382 days, which pretty much segregated white
So a
and
little
black
over a
people.
year.
Right.
Okay.
Which segregated white and black people on a bus. And on December 21st, 1956, after the Supreme Court of the United States had declared unconstitutional the laws requiring segregation on buses. And so from that point, black people and white people rode buses as equals.
Rosa Parks was in there, right?
Right around the same time. Yeah.
Right around the same time.
Yep.
Okay.
And it was
I saw
literally.
somewhere that Rosa Parks could have seen Shrek, or could have seen some weird movie.
Wait, what?
Yes, that Rosa Parks was alive when Shrek came out. Something like that.
Why are we basing this off Shrek?
I don't know, but you know how people
Shrek is a
love.
pivotal moment. They were alive when
um,
Shrek was around.
yeah, because she died in 2005, Rosa Parks, and
That's. I did not know that.
uh, Shrek. Wait, how do you Shrek? Jeez. And Shrek came out in 2001. So
Unbelievable,
I
dude.
saw this meme one time that was like, I'm sitting here thinking about Rosa Parks could have seen Shrek.
That is wild. I did not even think of.
But it like puts your timeline into perspective, you know?
That is true. That is kind of
But
wild.
anyway, side note, fun fact if
Yeah,
anybody was
so
curious.
Rosa Parks was probably stomping around Shrek Swamp. Fun fact.
I got a feeling, you know.
So right after that, right after the Supreme Court passed a law saying that black people, white people are equal on buses. Um,
Wait, you're telling me that this act says specifically on buses?
yep, on buses.
Jeez.
It was around this time that Martin Luther King was mailed a bomb to his home.
Okay, because Martin Luther King has been doing his. I thought he was preaching at a church. Or is this afterwards?
Yes. So he was preaching at church through
Okay.
the whole thing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And he was also at this time he was kind of gaining momentum. You
Okay.
know, he was finally officially he has a doctorate in theology,
Okay.
bachelor's in all these other degrees. I can't remember the actual term, but the words that he said carried a lot more weight than
Well,
some
I
street
think
person.
that the other thing is he's also gone to school for this, you know? Like he's gone to school to actually be able to preach, not preach, but like teach and talk about this stuff
Mm-hmm.
where he knows which words to use specifically to get momentum. Which
Maybe, I don't know.
I think there is like preacher school and stuff. Like I mean, that's essentially what you want, right?
Yeah, I think he was just good with his words. You know, like
I
being
think
so
you
educated,
I
I
think you
think you
are and you aren't
memorize
at the
so
same
many
point.
things.
I think people could be good with their words, but it comes from somewhere. And especially if his grandpa was that big of a role model, his grandpa would have been showing him that off the bat that he like from when he was growing up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
All right, so yeah, he got a bomb mailed to his home. Okay, and everybody ended up being okay, but that's kind of the
did
start
it
of.
go off or was it just like they
I'm pretty
found out?
sure it went off. I'm pretty sure it went off, but everybody was
Jeez.
okay. Um, and then in 1957, a couple years after he accepted his nonviolent or the boycott, or 1 year after the boycott, he was elected president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which from this point on we're just going to call it the SCLC. Okay,
So a conference, like it's just like a
religious group.
okay.
Okay, it's an organization formed to provide new leadership for the now explosive civil rights movement. I wrote that in there. It sounded like a good idea, but I take it back. I'm gonna say booming civil rights.
You got to make
Okay,
light of
okay.
light
The
of it.
explosive
Yeah.
civil rights movement. It was getting big. All right. Um,
Okay.
and the ideals for this organization he took from Christianity,
Okay.
just flat out. And the operations, like how it worked and how they did things, the strategies, he took from Gandhi. And so in here I have written the 11-year period, 6 million miles. He did
Mm-hmm.
over 2,500 speeches, and that's literally every other day. In 11 years, there's only 4,015 days. He did 2,500 speeches. That's like every other day, and then some repeating over and over again. He
Jeez.
was one busy man. And then, okay, on
Well, then,
top of
like,
that,
dang. All I'm thinking right now is, dang, his wife was a single mom. Unless he
most
took his,
likely,
like, because you're traveling that much, and what, like, and then your speeches, like, what time do you have, like, to be with kids? But I guess also times were different back then with women and kids. It was expected for them to just.
did they have rights by then? What did we call suffrage? Women's suffrage?
Women's suffrage. 1920. So, yeah.
So they did have rights.
Yeah, but I just don't think it's as today. But all I'm saying is, I can't remember what her name is, but I think we get the short end of the stick sometimes. You know, you gotta still carry these kids, work up until literally the day before you give birth, and yeah, you still gotta go to work and
But then by
still
law, you
have
have
to
maternity leave, and fathers don't.
12 weeks. Your body isn't even fully recovered till after a full year.
Corporate America, am I right? Rock on, baby.
Okay. Anyways, keep
Okay.
going. So busy man.
He was a busy man, and he was appearing wherever injustice, protest, or action was happening. And in that 11-year span, on top of traveling 6 million miles, on top of the 2,500 speeches, he wrote 5 books.
Dude, was he doing like a Jesus moment where he was like, "Yo, write this down"? He had to have.
I don't know. My apostle, my dude.
Because is no way this man could do. I mean, I guess if he's riding on a plane, dang,
Yeah, possibly.
overachiever.
So yeah, um, and yeah, on top of that, he wrote numerous articles. So in these years, these 11 years, he wrote a letter from a Birmingham jail. Does that ring a bell at all? The letter from Birmingham jail.
It sounds familiar, but I don't
Yeah,
know
so
why.
it was
Okay.
essentially a letter when he was doing a peaceful protest that he got arrested. And that Birmingham protest was what launched him into kind of the spotlight of America.
Oh, okay.
So it was a really big protest. Um, and um, yeah, that protest is kind of where he gained the world's attention. It was huge.
Oh,
Are
okay.
you looking it up right
Yeah.
now? The Birmingham jail letter.
Yeah. Let's hear.
What does it say? Can you read a brief little part of it?
Let's see here. I mean, it's pretty fancy. I'm trying to read. I mean, while conflicted here in Birmingham City Jail, I came across your recent statement calling our present activities unwise and untimely. It's a little blurry. I think it says solemn. If ever I pause to answer criticism of my work and idea. If I sought to answer all of the criticisms that crossed my desk, my secretaries would be engaged in little else with the course of the day, and I will not have no time for constructive work.
Okay, so that pretty much depicts on how he talks.
Yeah.
So it's a letter to the haters,
Mm-hmm.
but also it was a pretty powerful letter.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. Yeah, I'm like trying to. It's hard because it's like kind of blurry, but it looks like, I mean, it was 2 pages. Like,
Yeah,
it was
so
pretty like um it's like, well, you may ask, like, why direct action, why sit-ins, why marches, like, he's like, why, like, you may ask why I'm doing all this,
mhm,
but there's a reason, kind of. That's
yeah,
the gist of the letter.
and so that's the Birmingham letter.
Okay.
And so at that Birmingham protest is kind of where he gained the world's attention,
Hmm.
and he sent out that letter. Okay. Um,
He
eventually
sent it out to who, or is it just who he's
he was just
addressed to?
posted to the Times,
Oh,
to the
okay.
paper. It was right after this that he led a march of 250,000 people.
250,000.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, a
In
quarter
DC,
million.
quarter million.
Whew.
In DC, where he gave his famous "I
I
Have
have
a
a
Dream"
dream.
speech. Through all this, he was arrested upward of 20 times. He was assaulted at least 4 times. Excuse me. And he was awarded 5 honorary degrees and was named Man of the Year by the Times Magazine in 1963. He
Dang.
became not only the symbolic leader of American blacks, but also a world figure.
Dang.
So he was kind of
Could you
gaining.
imagine?
Go ahead.
Could you even imagine? Like, just imagine being like so, like, all of a sudden just like so well known for something you believe in so powerfully, you know?
Yeah,
That's so crazy.
that'd be crazy. That would be wild. Um, and so at the age of 35, Martin Luther King became the
Jeez.
youngest man to receive the National Nobel Peace Prize. And right after he was awarded that, he got a big old pot of $54,000 that he gave to the civil rights movement. And on the evening of April 4th of 1968, while standing on a balcony of his motel room in Memphis, Tennessee, he was to lead a protest march and symphony with striking garbage workers in the city. He was assassinated.
Jeez. So
Hmm.
he was okay
So
in
yeah,
Memphis, Tennessee.
yep, he was assassinated. So this is his alternate life that we didn't see. What are you looking up right now?
I'm just wondering where JFK was assassinated.
You're wondering when JFK?
No, where? Oh, it was Texas. I was like, when you said Tennessee, I don't know why I was like, was JFK assassinated in Tennessee? But he was assassinated in Texas, so I
Okay,
was just like, that's a little weird to like
I know that would be
big,
weird.
but That's just my
So
dyslexia.
now this is what was happening in the background
Mm-hmm.
of Martin Luther King.
Okay.
So in private, King was a very different person, and every year more and more keeps coming out about his personal life. This is kind of what I
Well, if you
have.
think about it, it's not that super long ago.
Mm-mm.
Like it's like, yeah, 56 years. Like people who are still around.
So most of this information comes from his best friend. I can't remember his name. I'll say it later.
Okay.
Um,
Maybe I'll look it up for you. But
no, it's on here.
oh, okay.
It's on here. His best friend, um, on his deathbed, kind of spilled the beans on everything. So
Oh
that's
man.
most of what we have.
Okay.
So more and more is coming out. Um, but so flat out, his academic credentials are under a shadow. So in order to be considered a PhD, a doctorate, most graduate students they have to write a book-length paper called a dissertation.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's expected that it's all original research in the field, and it contributes to your field of study. And pretty much from that point on, you either
Yeah.
get
It has
accepted or
to
you
be.
don't.
It has to be pretty much all you. Yeah.
Right. His dissertation, which was called A Comparison of the Conceptions of God in the Thinking of Paul Tillich and Henry Nelson Wyman. Um, so about 40 years later, 40 years later, um, by a Boston University committee, they revealed that King just copied paragraphs from other sources without citing
So
them.
what is that called? Not
Plagiarism.
plagiarism. I was gonna say copyright, but
Same thing.
same thing.
So, if it was at the time, he was under a lot of pressure, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had the civil rights movement, he had traveling, he had pastoring. Is that what it's called? Pastoring?
Preaching.
Preaching. Oh, yeah, preaching. He had all that going on, and he probably wasn't making a whole lot of different papers. Just one paper, write it and send it, right? 11:55 a.m., send it to the professor, right? Um, and it would be easy to say that if it was just a single case, that copying in a single document, it'd be easy to just kind of write off. But that's not the case.
Oh
Yep.
no.
So, according to Reverend Larry H. Williams, who had been King's best friend for in the 1940s, his first public sermon was copyrighted, was plagiarized, the whole thing.
From who?
I don't know, but that was at Ebenezer Baptist. His first one, he copied the
Gee.
whole thing.
So he does get motivation from other places.
Right. Even his first book that he posted was largely plagiarized.
Oof.
Copying large sections without citing his sources. Even his school assignments he copied from his peers.
Oh no.
Yeah,
He's a copy paster.
he's a copy paster. Um, and the funny part is that most of King's speeches and all that are copyrighted. Can't copy him, even though a lot of
Jeez.
his shit's copied. Ain't that funny?
That's crazy.
Um, so yeah. So moving on. Gotta flip this paper real quick. So remember Coretta?
Mm-hmm.
Met her in 53. And so where it gets a little crazy is that another less happy element that kept the couple together through everything was that Coretta had an ability to turn a blind eye to his infidelity.
An ability.
Yeah.
Like
Right?
it's a superpower or
Yeah.
something.
While he was on the road. He was gone a lot, 6 million
Well, that's
miles.
what I'm saying is that she was a single mother.
Right.
She sounds like if she could turn a blind eye while he was on the road, she wasn't on the road with him. I mean, she could have been, but
She had
still.
4 kids to raise.
Yeah. Jeez.
So it was around this time with his affiliation of the SCLC, remember that
Okay.
one?
Mm-hmm. The president, yeah.
That the FBI began tapping his phones. They would bug his
Oh.
rooms, and And in the summer of 1963, they started getting recordings of him. And they were originally thinking that Stanley Levison, we'll get into him in a second. Stanley Levinson was he was another leader of the SCLC, and him and King got together. The FBI believed that Stanley had very heavy communist influence. So they were tapping Martin Luther
Ugh.
King since he had that following behind him,
Yeah.
that he
Hmm.
wasn't preaching communism, so that's why they started tapping his phones. But what they found instead was essentially him just having sex with literally hundreds of women. Literally, like it would be one on one every now and then, but eventually it grew to like orgies of people.
Dude, power. People love power, man.
Dude, crazy, right?
Well, then you wonder, like, was he wrapping it up? Like, is there just like other like Martin Luther King babies out there that just
I don't know. Martin Luther King babies, I don't know.
that would be so crazy.
But yeah,
Dang.
that's what he was doing. He was so that's essentially how the FBI began following him because they thought that he was getting really heavy communist influence
Mm.
from the SCLC, and so
So
Stanley
wait,
Levinson.
so
Okay,
his speeches sounded communist, or just because
his
he was buddies? Oh,
right,
okay,
right,
okay, okay.
yeah. So my guess is yeah, it probably maybe sounded communist. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think so. I think he came from heart, like he was fighting for a good cause.
He
But
copyrighted.
his relation, yeah, copyrighted. His relationship with the SCLC and Stanley Levinson, which was already on the FBI's radar,
I see.
kind
That
of
makes
brought him
sense.
into that world.
Okay.
So Stanley Levinson, he was an ended up becoming a trusted advisor of Martin Luther King, and yeah, he came onto the FBI's radar
Hmm.
because of the heavy communist influence of
Interesting.
the Christian Leadership Conference. So, um, and so yeah, King would recruit women, either one on one, like I said, or orgies, and they were mixed with like fans and prostitutes, just all of them mixed in together, whether it was one on one or 6 on 1. I don't know. I don't know what he was doing. Okay.
Jeez.
Right. It was at this point that, Martin Luther King had people traveling with him at all times, right? His
Uh-huh.
entourage, they
Mm-hmm.
would participate in those events. They would be watching or whatever,
Oh my gosh, ugh,
right?
so
And
gross.
so these meetings of women would be a mix of white and black women. Excuse me. And at one point, it got so bad that his entourage got kicked out of a hotel because they were chasing naked prostitutes through the hallways of the motel.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's disgusting. It's
Right.
so gross.
And so, literally at every kind of speaking or speech, women would hand him their phone number mixed with their room key. And from what his best friend said, he had a really hard time turning it down. So he would make multiple visits a night, and he would just take these women to Pound Town.
I
He would
mean,
rarely give up on the opportunities.
how awful. I mean, how awful to be his wife.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how you would. I don't know. How do you do that to your wife? Somebody who you're supposed to love, who you've made a life commitment to, and then
You do all
you're
that
just
to him.
like, whatever.
Think about it. You don't see her most of the time.
Well, yeah, but like, and then at that point, then cut your ties. Like
But
be the better,
okay,
bigger person.
let's take that into consideration. What would that do to his church standing?
Exactly. He's literally just keeping her to make the church part happy.
That's a very good point. I didn't put two and two together. Literally, just as we were talking, I put that together. But
It's awful.
yep.
It's just like, it's just, even if it's just using a person on a different level than, other things. some people use other people for, oh, I'm using her because she lets me get a good deal, like stuff like that. It's just on a
She gives me
huger
a good
level. Like,
deal at Wendy's.
yeah, like, and that's the other thing is this lady is now raising what, 2 boys, 2 girls, 4 kids
4 kids.
by herself,
And he's just gone.
and he's just going to Pound Town all the time.
Orgies. I think that's so
That
gross.
sounds disgusting. That sound like I can just.
I
It
always think of like
sounds
the smell.
disgusting. Yes,
I always
I
think of
could
the
even just
smell.
think of how this guy smells after
Mm.
having sex with groups of women or multiple women in a night. And also, if I hope he's wrapping it up every single time. But
He's the king. I don't know.
if he's not, also, like, that's a problem. Like, we don't need like hundreds of your kids. Like, that's called freaking like incest at one point. That's when somebody's like, oh my god, we're cousins. Like, we didn't even know. Like, kind of a thing. But also, or siblings that we didn't know. And also, like, sex, STDs. Are STDs not a thing? Like, that's the other thing is like, okay, you go to multiple rooms in one night. You're giving, okay, what if the second girl has a STD? You just gave it to one, two, three, and four. Like, you just
Or
gave it to.
imagine what he had.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't see
Ugh,
anything like
that's rough.
that was
And some
decisive on him.
STDs you don't even notice you have. Some of them don't have what's the word?
Symptoms?
Symptoms. Yeah, some of them don't have symptoms.
Hmm.
Ugh, that is just.
Gross, huh?
It just is so gross.
Okay. Well, we're gonna
And
continue on.
okay. Anyways,
This will make you
ugh.
happy.
Okay.
So, through
Awesome.
the FBI following him and
Uh-huh.
recording his tapes, they actually compiled something and sent it to his home residence with Coretta.
Really?
Yeah, all the sex tapes, pretty much the audio sex tapes, and
How did he bug him? Does it say like how they bugged him?
I'm guessing when you check into a room, and the FBI goes in. Where is he?
Mm-hmm.
What room is he in?
So he got all, but then you said that he got room keys, so he would just go to their room.
It's a very good
Unless they
point.
put bugs on his stuff.
It's a very
Like
good
ended
point.
up putting it in
Or
his.
maybe the phones. They tapped all the phone
Yeah,
lines. I
yeah,
don't know.
something.
It's a very good point. I didn't think about that.
Unless he's like, okay, picking you up, let's go to my room, kind of a thing.
Or were they planted people from the FBI?
Honestly, the FBI can do pretty much anything. They have a lot of resources. They have a lot of funding.
Fair enough.
But yeah.
So yeah, they sent Coretta and him the recording, and Coretta claimed that it was too fuzzy to make out and understand. She brushed it off, and years later, she even stated that she didn't want to bother him with something like that.
You can't see it, but I'm rolling my eyes.
I know. So the most famous tale, or the infamous tale of King, happened on his last day. Where he got assassinated.
Yeah.
King's closest friend, Ralph Abernathy, that's the name I was thinking about earlier.
Abernathy.
He died in '89.
Okay.
Pretty much spilled all the beans on Martin Luther King.
89.
Yep.
Jeez, that's like 30 years
And
ago.
he had a few friends left in the Masonic Church.
Masonic?
Different church.
Okay.
Or the Masonic Temple.
Oh. Okay.
Where King had delivered his last speech, and he went to go get some drinks and to attend a party.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. King reportedly disappeared into a bedroom at the party with a young woman, of course, right? And
Mm-hmm.
didn't come out till about 1 a.m.
Jeez.
Okay. Abernathy and King left the house together and returned to the Lorraine Motel, which is where he got assassinated,
Okay.
where a female state legislator awaited him. King again disappeared into the bedroom with a woman,
Jeez.
while Abernathy stretched out to get some sleep. He was snoozing out. And it was around 8 a.m. that morning, according to him, that King shook him awake, asked for his help dealing with a third woman, who a third woman who he said had been waiting for him all night long and was very angry. Okay. Abernathy followed King back to his room. He witnessed the argument between the pair and quickly turned physical. He claims that the two struggled briefly and that King eventually struck the unarmed woman, or the unnamed woman, sorry, hard enough to knock her across the bed and onto
Well,
the,
unnamed and unarmed. I just say that.
probably,
Yeah.
yeah, unnamed and unarmed. He hit her so hard that she went across the room and that she left soon after. Um, that date was April 4th of 1968, and it was around 10 hours later, just after 6 p.m., where King stepped out onto the balcony for a cigarette, where he was shot by a sniper. It's that same night.
I don't think it has anything to do with it.
You don't think so?
No. I think this guy was literally fucking around all the time. Makes me upset because also
We have
sounds
MLK
like
Day.
also I know it's controversial. I know it's controversial. I'm just saying, what kind of a it's also like Elvis.
Dude, Elvis was an asshole.
Bro, he literally would have sex with women to show his wife this is what you should be doing.
What a dog.
Dude,
He also,
also
okay, think about this. He shipped his wife from Europe when she was young, like
like
16,
a minor. Yeah,
a minor. He
16.
shipped a minor from Europe and was like, "You want to be my wife, little mama?"
Yeah. Dude, all I'm saying is I you see it a lot. With power comes all of this. Either sex, drugs,
Hmm, don't I
sex or
know it?
drugs. That's literally one or the other. And this guy sounds like if he throws this random woman across the room, says whoever many times it's been, if he's that man. People who cheat piss me off. If you're just not happy, freaking leave. And if you're beating on people, fuck off.
Ugh, I can see
Ugh.
you get so mad.
Beating on people, there is no reason for that.
I agree.
There is, especially somebody who's not as powerful as you and you're trying to take advantage of that, that is not okay. Hitting kids, hitting women, or even men, like women who beat on their
I think
spouses,
anybody that beats on anybody,
beats on
bro.
anybody. Unless you're in MMA or boxing or something where you are signing up to beat each other, there's no reason for that. There's no reason. And as kids, a lot of the time, like younger kids, they're just playing. Like they're just fighting. They end up accidentally punching. That's different than you intentionally trying to hit somebody like that,
Yeah,
where
you're
you're
like, God, I'm having a bad day.
you're
Let me
fighting
take it
with
out
somebody.
on my 8-year-old daughter.
Oh God. What was his name? His name was Gabriel Hernandez or something.
Yep.
Do you
Gabriel.
remember? I watched that Netflix series.
That's a hard watch.
I don't think I could watch it now. I think I would lose it. But I watched it when it first came out, and I was raging. Who
Didn't they
can,
keep him under a sink?
dude? No, they kept him in a. They kept him in a cardboard, not a cardboard, like a cabinet, like a little baby cabinet that was no bigger than I don't even know what that is. Not like he
Three
would have to
feet.
be crouched, and he was an 8-year-old or something like that. He was a little kid, and he would have to be crouched. They fed him freaking cat litter when he said he was hungry, like used cat litter clumps of pee, and fed it to him, and beat on him. And people called all the time, and nobody did anything. They would just shoot him with BB guns just to see what he felt like. Like, how awful of a person can you be? And I don't even care if the other person's adult or not. Why would you do that?
I don't know. I
Why?
think you have to be messed up or something.
Your rage cannot be under control. And then that's also oh,
I
I
don't
don't
even
want to
think it's
bother. I
rage. I
don't want
think
to
it's a
bother my.
sickness.
I don't want to bother my husband. I just don't want to bother him with something like this. I couldn't really tell his.
My
Well,
husband.
who knows what he did to her?
I don't know.
I don't want to say anything too bad, but that's some pretty. I mean, just from fact wise, that's some pretty. But that's the sad thing about a lot of people with power and these big following. They have a lot of bad crap that follows them along.
And I think I'd hate to say it comes naturally, but like when you have all the power
It's
and the prestige,
your
right?
id, ego, and sub ego, and ego. There's
I'm
three
not
different
familiar.
levels, I think. It's like it's literally like in your brain.
Yeah, but like as soon as you have all that and you have literally women throwing themselves at you, you're like, well, fuck, why not?
I know, but like,
And then just eats you up, like Jeffrey
dude,
Epstein.
I just can't even imagine. Like, that's just, oh my gosh.
So, how do you feel about Martin Luther King right now?
I'm a little pissed. I'm like shaking.
A little
I'm a
pissed.
little shaky right now.
Yeah, that's
But that
it's
kind of like, it's hard because he didn't do a lot of cool stuff.
he did do a lot.
But at the same time, it's hard. Like, and copyrighted can be, copywriting is not good. I would say like copywriting, plagiarizing is not good because you're taking somebody else's words that they've put effort into. You're just saying like, this is my work that I did, even though you didn't.
Hmm.
So it's bad, but at the same time, sometimes it takes hearing it from a different person for it to understand, to mean something. You know,
Okay.
like where, like for example, I tell you all the time. I remember when you would make pottery, I was like, "This is so beautiful." Not until somebody else would say it would you actually like believe them.
Right on.
So like it just depends like on who's delivering it. So that one didn't make me as upset, but like I guess like just not being faithful. Like I mean I guess that just kind of hits my heart in a different way though
Mm-hmm.
too, just because yeah. But and also it's just like hard because you have these four kids and it's you don't hear a lot of how he was involved or not
Yeah,
and
I wish I would have
like
done more research on like if he was an involved father. If he was doing all that, I don't imagine that he was.
I don't think he
I
could
think he
have
was
been.
like a come
Maybe
and go
he
father,
and that's
literally.
the other thing like that's the other thing I'm thinking about is like how is this guy having sex with like 3, 4, 6 people a night?
He
There
comes in.
is no way. I don't even know how you'd have to be doing. Like
I could do it.
he would have had to be in pain.
I could do it right now.
Stop. Literally, we were like, oh yeah, it's probably the family listening to to this.
I'm saying I could do it. You know,
I don't know. It's just
I'll
like,
save my
well, then
last name.
also, how is he staying up all night and all day and
Hmm.
traveling and doing these things?
In these motivational speeches, he probably ripped a few freaking lines, and he was like,
Mm.
"All right, I feel good.
And obviously, I don't want
I
to.
have a dream." I don't know.
I don't want to say like it's hard. You don't want to always speak ill on the dead, like you don't want to.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I'm just saying, if you make 1 plus 1 equals 2, like people who are always up going and staying up all night having sex and then doing another thing, traveling, doing it. Sounds like homeboy was doing something else too.
Or he was just drinking Coca Cola with the cocaine in it. When did
When
that?
did Coca Cola stop? Okay. When did Coca
Yeah, this
Cola
is very
stop putting Coke in there?
this is very important because this we might solve the riddle.
When was Coca free? 1904.
1904, definitely before his time.
Wait, what did that say?
2004?
No.
What? I'm just kidding.
Okay. In 2003, it was removed after 1904. Instead of using fresh leaves of Coca Cola, started using spent leaves. So I guess technically to 1903. It
Okay.
was after 1904 on.
Okay, so it's definitely before his time.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
he had to have been just doing the actual thing. I don't.
I don't
I mean,
know.
I
I
don't
don't.
know.
I don't
I'm
want to
not saying that he
assume.
did, and I'm not gonna assume, but I'm just saying, think about it.
Yeah, boy was busy,
Yeah.
in the speeches and in the britches.
Well, and that's like hard. It's like like there's like actual like evidence for that.
Yeah. So maybe we'll see something that comes out next year or something. But also, on a whole complete side note here, Tupac's killer was arrested.
Oh yeah, you didn't even tell me about it.
Yeah. So his name was Dwayne Keefe, I think.
Keefe. How did they find him? Do you know?
So, so from what I was reading, is that he was getting to a point where he was pretty like
On his deathbed?
nonchalant about it. He was dropping some things,
Is he
and
in jail or like how did they know? Like was he like in jail or was he like
mm-mm.
free?
he
He's
was, he,
free.
he was a free
Free man?
man,
Okay.
and he's now in jail. So yeah, that came out, I believe, yesterday. I don't know
Jeez. I
what
know there's a lot of controversy about if Tupac was murdered or if he's still living or
I don't know. I think Tupac, like,
maybe too many people think he is still living, so they were like, "Oh,
maybe we'll do the history of Tupac one day. But so
you'd love to."
I've listened to a lot of podcasts about Tupac. So one of my favorite ones that kind of covered him is called the Conspiracy Podcast, and they do a good job. They're kind of funny too, but they did a really good job in deep diving
Shout out.
into all of his stuff. And yeah, if you, I don't have very many followers, or we don't have very many, but I like the Conspiracy Podcast. They're just a group of dudes. They have an
Oh, it's
intro
like a group.
song.
Like how many?
I want to say four of them, four or five of
That's
them.
kind of cool. I feel like a big group is cool with conspiracy theories
Mm-hmm.
because you do kind of interpret them differently. Like conspiracies, because there's always multiple conspiracies for one thing. I feel like
Yep.
there's always. I remember we used to listen to one that I think it was just called conspiracy theories,
Yep.
but
And it
it
was
was like they talked about like three main ones.
to the point, no
Hmm.
side chatter. And it's
Yes.
like, I get it if somebody hands you a folder and you're like, you got to read this word for word. I
Hmm.
don't like that. I just
I
like,
know. I remember listening to him and I was just like, oh, like it's just real to the point.
like the Joe,
Morbid. Love Morbid. Shout out to Morbid.
they do a really good
I
job.
love them.
I'd
It's
love to
two
meet them one
gals.
day.
Dude, they're so cool. They're actually in Massachusetts.
Wow, I've never been
Wow.
there.
Jeez, it's hard when you've worked all in
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. It's hard when you talk all day and then you come home, take care of a baby, and talk baby talk, and then you come here and you're like, oh my gosh, that's talk like a
Baby
person.
talk and normal talk.
Yeah, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, I'd love to
But
meet
they're
them.
great. They're super funny.
Maybe
Um,
one day. Who knows?
yeah, you never
It'd be
know.
a crazy world.
But they are super funny and they have some really cool stuff. They do have side chatter, which I do like.
Hmm.
Um,
But they're pretty like. I
they're
do like them too. They go through the facts, and then when something really crazy happens, boom, side chatter,
yeah,
which is understandable.
yeah. Which they're my inspiration.
Yeah, they're awesome. I do
Yeah.
like Morbid, and then I
Um,
also really like Joe Rogan. Anyways, getting off.
anyways, yeah,
I don't want
really
to give
good.
them more followers, with my age, and they're like thousands. I'm just kidding. But that's the story, the tale of Martin Luther King Jr. What do you think?
I thought it was cool. You always come up with such cool stuff. I feel like I just am slacking.
I mean, you are. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
No, it was hard to find this one. I did not expect to. I mean, I was. It took me about 4 hours. I was going through different things because I have a really hard time coming up with
mm-hmm.
things. And Martin Luther King came up, and I was like, oh. And then another link came up, the dark side. And I was like, well, shit. Now I kind of have to see it.
Yeah,
And then it came up with all this, and I was like, oh, fuck,
yeah,
that's good.
yeah.
Like I thought he was like the stand up family man.
Well,
Like,
especially when you see like what he did, and also with his religious background, you would think that.
right. Oh, I don't even think I brought it up. So, okay. Yeah, the SCLC, his church,
Mm-hmm.
the FBI started getting on to Martin Luther King not only because of Stanley Levinson,
Mm-hmm.
but because they thought he was paying the prostitutes and the orgies with SCLC money. That's kind of what happened there. He was
Hmm.
getting funded through the church.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Mm.
Anyways, that's all I have. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't think so. I think I kind of interjected where I need to, but it was awesome. I really liked it. I like how you do you do such a great job doing a whole story.
I do like researching people. It's pretty fun.
You remind me of a little bit of Morbid, where I keep it more short and you keep it a little bit longer, but I love it. It's like it's so it's just it's great. I
It is
really enjoy it.
it's a fun time. I do enjoy it.
I really like it. So
Um. Well, I guess that's it. I guess we'll call it.
okay, see you guys on the next one, right?
See ya. Bye.